And good morning to you. Welcome back to Morning Live. Now, cricket is a sport of interest at the moment with the T20 World Cup currently underway in Australia. And joining us now is former player opting to, and we've rather seen former players opting to share their experiences through different platforms. And one such person is a former Proteas captain, Faf du Plessis, who joins us all the way from Cape Town this morning. Good morning, Faf. Thank you so much for joining us on Sports on Morning Live.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Let's start with matters on the field of play before we talk about other things. A good win for the Proteas yesterday against a formidable Indian side. What do you make of the Proteas campaign so far in this World Cup?
Yeah, I think they're playing some fantastic cricket, and I think we've got a really strong team as well. So yesterday's win would do that team a lot of confidence, and I think we are probably one of the favourites now after last night. So, yeah, I think the conditions that we're playing and the team that we have there, I'm really excited for the next 2 weeks.
Oh, and so are we. There is also one thing, Faf, that a lot of people have been talking about. It is the form of the captain, Temba Bavuma. What do you make of what's happening in this current situation at the moment? Because he doesn't pick himself, and he does seem to have the backing of the team.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's always important to have that backing. I think it's a nice message that the team is sending out that, you know, Temba is being backed. I think also what is helping Temba a little bit is the fact that the team is winning. So that's something that can make him just focus on the performance of the team. But of course, I mean, Temba knows that runs is around the corner. He's been someone that's been under pressure before in his career. And this is now just one of those occasions again. And I know he's a big character, he's a fighter, so I'm sure he'll get through this.
And as you talk about him just being a character, let's talk about the importance of leadership as a senior player in the team, as well as the role of mentoring. Now, we know that in your book you touch on this and you speak about the unpleasant experience that you had with former Proteas batsman Daryl Cullinan. What lessons did you learn from that?
Look, I think the purpose of the book initially was I felt like there was a big story to tell from a leadership journey point of view. You know, when I started my cricket to 12, 13 years later playing under so many leaders. So I think that started the book process. But then it was also a case of so many stories to tell about relationships, culture. You know, I've been fortunate enough to be in a South African dressing room, which is probably the most diverse team on the planet, but to have gone through that journey where you learn so much. So I felt that there's really something to tell. And the purpose of the book is just sharing the stories that impacted me and the perspective I had of going through that journey.
And of course, when you were playing, you played with the likes of Graham Smith and Mark Boucher. And then you also had to work with them now being the director of cricket as well as the coach. Talk us through your relationship with them in both parts of your career.
Yeah, I'm very lucky to have played. I think under Graham as captain, he's probably South Africa's strongest leader that we've had in terms of cricket, in terms of performances. So that journey of 4 or 5 years playing under him was a great learning experience. And then also with Bouch, Bouch is someone that I've admired in his time in cricket, the fighting spirit that he has. I think that people will make the assumption that there's a bad relationship with those two, but there isn't. I think the purpose of the last chapter of my life, basically within the Proteas, I just give context and once again my own perspective of going through what was an interesting time for me. And I really just wanted to, I suppose, pull a person along the journey by reading in a book and really just opening up all my emotions. I think that's the one thing that really I hope shines through in the book is the level of honesty that I get into.
Indeed, and we do look forward to reading the book. Something also that people sometimes don't realize is that cricket is more than just about what happens on the field of play. It also is about what happens off the field of play. And we've seen with some former players talk big about transformation and how certain things need to be done until they get into a leadership role and a role where they can make those changes and bring about that positive transformation change. What is your overall take on transformation in cricket in South Africa at the moment?
Yeah, I speak about it in the book, and I say that once again, the journey that I go through as a player initially where you don't really understand it, but then you start understanding the bigger picture and you really get it. I think once again, that's one of the things that I'm so grateful for, that I suppose through leadership, I got taught about this big picture thinking that is, and that's one of the topics that I speak about, is transformation, the country that we live and the importance that it is for the cricket and our sport. So I really was like a seat of that something that's outside of cricket, and I explained my journey through, diversity and different.
Oh, so unfortunate. It does seem like we do have a bit of a connectivity issue there. There, you're back. Faf, just as we wrap up with you quickly, talk to us about your relationship with Siya Kolisi. We've seen you guys, you seem to have a good relationship. We've seen you delivering food parcels during the pandemic and even meeting Jurgen Klopp. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, I mean, he's a top man, isn't he? I've got so much respect for him, and he's been great for me. As I said, it's so important in the context of South Africa is to have different perspectives, and I've had him as my almost sound wall where I can speak to him about different things. So he's a great man. He's a great leader and a great ambassador for our country. But yeah, you talk about that night we met Jurgen. I was just there and having dinner with Siya, and we were just sitting down, and in walked this guy where Siya really became like a little boy and really shy when he saw him. And I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, no, are you serious? You don't understand. That is the biggest crush I have on someone in the world. And Jurgen came out of the bathroom and he walked straight to us. And it was so funny to see how Siya was in awe of this guy. But yeah, what a man, Jurgen. He came to sit down and just have a conversation with us. And obviously he recognized Siya as well because they just won the Rugby World Cup.
Oh, that is such a lovely story. Thank you so much for your time this morning, Faf, and we look forward to reading your book and also just learning a lot about you as well as your experiences as a former cricketer for South Africa.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed that. Thank you, guys.